Okay, this is Debbie Pate. Let's get started on conflict management. There's several different things that we need to go over to make sure that you do understand that conflict management, for the most part, doesn't have to be negative or positive, even though a lot of people will look at conflict and think that has a negative connotation. But what does this mean to you? Going into the RN role, there's many different things that it can mean to you. So as we look at our next slide, conflict is just an opposition of feelings, desires, or goals. Generally, it's considered to be a negative occurrence, like I had mentioned, but not necessarily if we look at the positive side of this. So, conflict can be interpersonal, intragroup, and intergroup. So the interpersonal is within one individual. It's happening within the one individual. Interpersonal is within one group or between two or more individuals. Intragroup within one group, and intergroup is between two or more groups. The individual and the group responses to conflict may create problems within the workplace. So that's why we have to look at this, is because you as the RN now are the manager within the workplace. A conflict has a preceding causative event which sets up perceived or felt antagonisms, and conflict within the workplace becomes a source of discord when disruption occurs in patient care activities. All of those tended to have a negative connotation, but we're going to look at different ways to handle conflict so you can see some of the positive ways also. Like we had mentioned, that some of the causes in conflict in the workplace will be with staffing mixes, ethical decisions, and then punitive measures. Perceived differences in care management, patient load responsibility, and personality differences can also be sources of conflict between the RN coordinator of the patient of care and the other care team. Lack of mutual respect between the RN and the others may result in unresolved conflict. So when we look at conflict management, it's a challenging skill, but it is a responsibility of all RNs. The principles of conflict management that we will look at today are sacrifice resolution, competition resolution, and the win-win resolution. So just want to restate that one more time. The RN must master these conflict management skills in order to lead the team in the role of a manager of the team. So if we look at sacrifice resolution, it means a compromise to resolve conflict. Both parties basically given up their positions. When two people compromise to resolve conflict, they both give up their positions. Neither gets exactly what he or she wants, but both are able to live with the decision. In sacrifice resolution, one may strongly want to avoid or end the conflict and therefore accommodate the other by essentially sacrificing his or her position. The one who continually sacrifices in order to accommodate others may build up resentment that could eventually surface inappropriately. So remember that. The one that always sacrifices and gives up for the other, that might surface in an inappropriate place. The next way we look at managing conflict is competition resolution. In this, one or both of the parties work competitively instead of cooperatively toward a resolution. In this, one side wins and the other loses. Both parties competitively instead of cooperatively working together. This sets up the problem of resolving conflicts that one side wins and the other loses. The obvious result is resentment or jealousy. So the result of this type of conflict management is resentment or jealousy on the part of the individual who lost. An example of this type of conflict management: when a unit manager posts a memo regarding holiday or vacation schedule request, if clear rules are not set in place that direct a fair distribution of days off among the staff members, certain individuals may view this as an opportunity to win their preferred days off at the expense of others. A policy of first come, first serve would be unfair in this situation. In that case, staff members working the shift when the schedule comes out would be in a better position to request days off before others who are not there. This practice of competitive conflict resolution pits staff members one against the other. It creates resentment toward the manager as well as the individual who take advantage of this. The next is win-win resolution. I think just by the name you understand that there's two opposing parties. They come together to decide on mutual goals, design interventions to meet their goals, and work together to evaluate outcomes. So the two opposing parties do come together and they decide on their mutual goals and the interventions and how they're going to get to the outcome that's a win-win situation for both. Let me see. Because the parties agree to deal with the situation, all parties involved have a sense of ownership and will work generally in a state of togetherness or side by side to achieve the best outcome for all. Engaging in collaborative steps to resolve conflict may assist the RN in managing conflicts that threaten to derail the team and ultimately impede patient care. From the previous example, if the previous example were handled in a win-win situation, the manager might have posted a memo with a deadline for sign-up and then hold a staff meeting to discuss it. So I want us to look at tips for managing workplace conflict. When we're doing that, we want to build good relationships before the conflict occurs. Basically, you want to have an emotional tank that's already built, a positive emotional tank, so that if someone is, already knows exactly your management style, that you're able to give out compliments, that you're able to see the good that everyone does, it's received a little bit better. Do not let small problems escalate. We need to deal with them as they arise. We need to respect differences. I heard it said once that differences are not negatives or they're not weaknesses just because someone doesn't think like us or doesn't respond the same way we do. In reality, when we look at the strength of that, it gives us another perspective of a way of looking at the problem or the situation. We want to listen to others' perspectives on the conflict situation, acknowledge feelings before focusing on the facts. We want to focus on resolving problems, not changing people. And if we can't resolve the problem, we need to turn to someone who can help. And always remember to adapt your style to the situation and the persons involved. So the next few things that we included here, I actually included some questions, but instead of me reading through them, I'm just going to send those to you by hard copy. I'll post this on the website, and you can read those and you can go through each of the rationales that I have with these. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.